I want to know each one's opinion on why do you think this is such a recurring process, and we Jews have to keep reminding ourselves that the threat is never gone, and the next one is coming for us, and why this keeps happening. Francisco, your turn to go first.
I think it keeps happening for a number of reasons. One is psychological. So the most pathetic desire of ordinary Jews is to live a normal life. And one can understand that. I mean, why wouldn't you want to live a normal life without everybody trying to kill you? I mean, it's natural that every time the great kill is over, and it seems like the world has learned, and you're back into some modicum of peace and so forth. Naturally, the Jews want to believe that it's all over, that the next generation won't have to worry about another genocide. So that's the psychological reason. And because there's this deep desire to live a normal life, the Jews can be manipulated into thinking that they are finally getting that, because they desire it so strongly that you can dangle a few lures in front of them and they'll bite. Another reason this happens is that the media and academic system is controlled, and it produces a false reality where Jews can be, as I said, manipulated into thinking that the danger is over. And finally, the third reason is that the people running not only the state of Israel, but the Jewish communities in the diaspora don't defend the Jews. They just don't. And if they were really defending the Jewish people, they would have created a very well-funded scientific effort to understand anti-Semitism and to get ahead of the next great mass killing. Instead, they keep telling Jews not to defend themselves, to lower their heads, to cooperate with the anti-Semites, to make the anti-Semites happy. They make them believe that the dangers are over. I think all of it combines to making Jews think that the great danger is over every single time. And right now, I believe the same thing is happening to Edwin Black. With all due respect, I believe that the faith that many Jews are now placing in Trump is a repetition of this effect. So Trump has been dangled in front of the Jews. He is the new lure, and Jews are being made to believe that Trump is their savior, and therefore, as Edwin Black just said, that the danger of a Holocaust is now over because Trump is here. I believe that's entirely false. It's just a repetition of the same process by which Jews are manipulated every generation.
Edwin. Well, we can skip Trump to the next question. That's going to be.
Let's skip Trump for a while. But once again, Francisco really nails it. He really nails it. And our problem is we don't have more Edwin and Francisco. Okay, we are the tall trees in a field of intellectual saplings. So he's right. It comes down to one word: assimilation. We'll assimilate. We'll wear the same clothes. We'll talk the same language. We'll do the Zelbazach, the same thing. And then we'll build we'll have our communities. And if they're in Mexico City, they're armed fortresses. If they're in Montreal, they're under constant attack right this minute, fire bombs. And the reason is because the Jews are simply unwilling to face the facts that people like me and Francisco and you and others have faced. And primarily, and I've lost my timing here, so I'll make it brief. Primarily, it's about a lack of historical understanding. And this is advanced by exactly what Francisco was talking about, a corrupt media, false narratives. Remember, you think fake news started an election a couple of years ago. The Jews have been living with fake news, the protocols of the elders of Zion, and before that, the poisoning of the water, the drinking of the blood to make matzah, the use of Christian babies to make matzah. These were all the fake news that were able to justify the innate desire to get rid of the Jews. What did eugenics do to him? Eugenics medicalized German anti-Semitism and elevated it to raceology, to science, of course, a pseudoscience. Just to make this one remark, you're asking profound questions. We're answering them in 3 minutes, but this is the art of leaving out 99.9% of everything. So we haven't even touched on important little things like General Motors, Standard Oil, and 151 countries, 151 American corporations that were doing their best to make sure that their investment in Germany survives.
Yeah. No, and this is, as you said, it's very profound topics that there's really no time to cover them all. And I hope this works for the audience to get a bite, a taste of the information that's really important for you to know, to understand, to be able to fight this. And we'll get links for the books, Edwin's books, Francisco's articles, and please go and dive deeper, And we ask the audience.
I have books too. Books too. They can find them at managementofreality.com. And in fact, they touch on all of the topics I mentioned today.
Yeah, so please go dive deeper. We have this on our YouTube channel, Edwin Black's show, if you prefer video. So both of them have produced enormous amount of content. So that's really important for all of us in Western society to understand, not just Jews, but all of Western society, because this is an attack on all of us. So this is the way we fight it, And that's what I'm getting on this question from both of you, is that we Jews want to believe that the danger is over, that after all this suffering, okay, now we can live in peace, and we'll try to be good, like we'll try to just make peace and do what they ask of us, and then they leave us alone, if we stop being weird, or we just align to what's going on, they'll stop hating us. But that's really not what happens.
Actually, if I can offer a comment there, Ricardo, the way this works is that Jews are made to believe that anti-Semitism is a consequence of their behavior, and therefore, if they change their behavior, anti-Semitism will go away. But anti-Semitism has nothing to do with what the Jews do or do not do. We have many demonstrations of this, but the most dramatic one was when Israel removed itself from Gaza. That was supposed to be a demonstration of the willingness of Israeli Jews to live in peace. We're going to let the Arab Palestinians, have their self-government experiment and so on. We'll take the Jews out of Gaza. We will demonstrate that, we'll do it unilaterally, asking nothing in return, so that they can see that we really want peace. We'll get this going. And not only was Gaza turned into a terrorist nightmare to destroy the Jewish state, but the entire anti-Semitic structure keeps blaming Israel for what the terrorists do from Gaza. So that's a dramatic demonstration that anti-Semitism is not a consequence of what Jews do or do not do. Anti-Semitism is a consequence of a propaganda system that is always operating regardless of what Jews do.
Yeah, and
if I could just inappropriately add, this harkens back to the Herzlian concept. Anti-Semitism exists where we exist. If we're not there, then there's no anti-Semitism. Let's get out of there. But what does Francisco do? He says, hey, remember, 800, he didn't say this, but he knows this, 850,000 Jews were summarily expelled simultaneously from all the Arab countries in full public view. They're not there, so 99.9% of them are all gone. We're gone from Gaza from 2005, and it comes down to this one sentence. There is no compromise in a religious war. Face it for what it is. This is a religious war, and the only way that we can survive is peace through strength, and do not leave the back door open.